Welcome to Rebel Chaser. My name is Gail, and I've got a video for you from Judge Falkenberg in Texas. And he's discussing where a young man is going to live. I'll let you guys watch.
FYI, court calls cause number 24-18024 in the interest of Benjamin Riley Smith et al. In the 216th Judicial District Court of Gillespie County, Texas. Court is broadcasting from Uvalde County Courthouse via Zoom and YouTube. Are there any objections?
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
All right, having heard no objections, Ms. Thompson, would you please begin the announcements?
Jessica Thompson on behalf of the department.
Katarina Lewis, Belong Permanency Specialist.
Ashley Crouch, Belong Permanency Supervisor. Anna Swallow, Attorney ad litem for the respondent mother. We are ready, Judge, and I think we have a partial agreement on the motion.
Deborah.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's fine. Go ahead.
Deborah Fuller, attorney for the father, Robert Smith, father of Benjamin Smith. Could you please unmute and announce Mr. Smith?
Robert Smith, the father.
Charles Weatherby, attorney for Hatley, who is the father of the other child that's not directly involved today. I was not able to get a notice out to get him piped in from prison, but this is not his child. I'm announcing ready. I have talked to him enough to know what his position is, and I will state that when it's appropriate.
Kendra Sims, attorney ad litem for the children.
Marcus McMorro, Hill Country Casa, guardian ad litem.
Anybody else that's here today for this hearing that has not announced? All right, anyone who's not an attorney or will be giving testimony, please raise your right hand. Do each of you swear or affirm the testimony you give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God?
Yes, Judge.
Yes, Your
All
Honor.
right. This is
Yes,
your
Your
motion,
Honor.
correct, Ms. Fuller?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, then I'm going to let you proceed as the movement. Are there any housekeeping issues or any opening statements you want to make?
Your Honor, we're asking that Benjamin Smith be placed with his father, Robert Smith. He's the non-offending parent. He has followed all the instructions of the court, and the child has visited with him and had a very good visit. The Belong has had an opportunity to go to his home, see his home, and we're asking that you sever out Ben's case from Madeline's and dismiss his case and return Ben to his father. I ask that the child be sent to his father, and then the court dismiss and Belong be able to transport Ben up to Ohio.
Okay, Ms. Swallow, you said you thought there might be a partial agreement. Based on Ms. Fuller's announcement, what are you looking at?
Judge, my client is in agreement that Ben go with his father. She just requests that we wait till the end of the school year and that Ben be allowed to visit his father over spring break, Easter, any extended weekends, anything like that in the interim. And I also believe that I don't think a straight dismissal would be in Ben's best interest, and that the final orders that we entered into previously, if we dismiss, those go into effect, and those do not share custody the appropriate or visitation the appropriate way.
My understanding would be we had this discussion last time, we're under temporary orders right now. And so if we sever out and dismiss, then yes, Ben would be subject to that final order that's in place. So that is a bridge we'll have to cross another day as far as severance and dismissal, just from a procedural perspective, because I can't solve that riddle today. But we can definitely talk about the agreement that the child go, but the contention that it be until the end of school year versus before spring break, as Ms. Fuller has requested. Let me hear from the department and Belong. Ms. Thompson, what is the position of the state and the SSCC?
Your Honor, the department is in full agreement with Ms. Fuller's motion to change placement of Benjamin to relocate and be with his father, Mr. Smith, in Ohio.
Okay. Mr. Weatherby, I understand that you really don't have a position on this. Miss Sims?
Your Honor, when I discussed this with Ben last week, he is not wanting to go live with his father right now. I agree with Miss Swallow. I think this needs to wait until summer and let Ben finish the school year and let him have some therapy to come to terms with going to Ohio.
Mr. McLemore?
We've also talked to Ben and he wants to wait until the summer. Also, if we don't sever, I think we'd have to have an ICPC, which may take till the end of summer. I mean, to the end of the school year.
And Your Honor, I have advised my client if his child is placed with him today by order of the court, that he would need to obtain an attorney in the state of Ohio to modify that order that would be in place. And I think testimony will show that that it is in Ben's best interest to go to his father's home and that he can provide a safe and stable home for him.
Okay. The way I'm looking at this is that we have a stipulation as to a move, but we don't have an agreement as to when. So let's relegate the testimony. The relevant testimony is going to be relegated to why it should be now versus why it should be later. So you can call your first witness, Ms. Fuller.
I'd like to call Ms. Crouch.
All right, she's been sworn. You may proceed.
Could you please state your full name?
Ashley Crouch.
And how are you employed?
I am the permanency supervisor for Belong for this case.
And it is the Belong's position that Ben's case should be severed and dismissed today,
Yes.
and that Ben should be placed with his father, correct?
Yes.
Did Belong have an opportunity to view the father's home?
Ms. Lewis did, yes.
Are there any safety concerns by Belong at this time in regards to Mr. Smith's home?
No.
And in regards to therapy, has Ben and Mr. Smith been attending therapy since October, pretty much, correct?
Yes.
And that was based on the previous order of the court from the previous case.
Yes.
And in regards to the goal in this case, which will be staffed with your program director, what is the department's goal in this case right now?
Right now, the goal is family reunification for both children. However, we are staffing with Ms. Kirkpatrick on the 11th and anticipating that the goal for Madeline will change to relative adoption. And
has Ms. Hines been recently indicted for child endangerment?
She has.
And has she requested the department to cancel all her visits with her children?
Judge, I'm going to object as to relevance. If we're focused on timing, I'm not sure what that has to do with my client's visitation.
Sustained. I think I understand the picture here, and I think with the agreement to make the move without the understanding or the agreement for the timeline, we probably don't need to get into the why. I already know the why, so let's move on.
In regards to the department's role in this case or Belong's role in this case, do you think it's necessary for you to remain in the case?
In regards to Benjamin, no, per policy, if the department does not have concerns with a non-offending parent placed out of state, then we are required to request that the court order placement and then enter an order placing the child with a non-offending parent and dismiss the case at that time.
Okay. And in regards to the child staying here until the end of the school year, what is your opinion in regards to that?
Again, DFPS policy indicates that if we don't have concern, we do have to request that the court order the placement and dismiss the child from the case.
And you heard the ad litem and the guardian ad litem. and their concerns. Does the Belong not have those same concerns?
No, we understand that Ben has indicated that he is not ready to go or that he would like to wait, but that the reasoning for his request is because he is concerned about contact with his sister. And we believe that that contact would continue.
And you believe it will continue with his sister where she's placed right now?
Where she's placed right now, yes, and then we do anticipate a move for her as well toward the end of the school year, and we don't have concerns with that contact continuing in the new placement either.
Okay, and have you discussed with Mr. Smith the continued contact and the importance of that?
Yes.
And has the therapist discussed with Mr. Smith and Ben during family therapy the importance of contact?
Yes.
And do you feel that issue has been sufficiently addressed at this time?
Yes, I do.
Okay. I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Before we move on to the state, I had just a slight distraction. Ms. Crouch, did you get into the ICPC issue?
I did not, but I can.
Okay, I would like to. I didn't think I heard it. Tell me what that would look like if we were to wait.
Okay. Per policy, we can't request an ICPC on a non-offending parent unless ordered to do so by the court. If we are ordered to do so, obviously we will. However, the ICPC stipulation is that if we place with a non-offending parent out of state without an ICPC, then we do have to dismiss upon placement.
Okay. That's what my understanding of ICPC was, but I wanted to make sure that I'm not misremembering the statute. Okay. Ms. Thompson, questions for Ms. Crouch?
No questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Weatherby, I know you probably don't have any questions, but I don't want to just skip over you by road. Do you have any questions?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Swallow?
Thank you. Ms. Crouch, how long has the department been involved with his family?
Department has been involved with the family. Give me one moment. Since February 7th of 2023.
Okay. So why is it now, March 2025, that Belong is wanting to honor this policy that a child should be placed with his father out of state?
Belong actually was interested in non-suiting Ben at the beginning of this case, but Mr. Smith wanted to build that relationship with Ben before asking for placement.
Okay. And that premise, it sounds like, is based on what would be in the best interest of Ben. Would you agree with me?
The premise for waiting?
Yes.
The premise for waiting was to build that relationship and rapport as the visits were started late in the last case.
Okay. And so that bond is something to be considered when thinking about best interest, is it not?
Yes.
Okay. So at this point in time, does Belong not believe that it would be in the best interest of Ben to honor his desires of waiting a few months?
It sounds like he has since shifted his response to some folks to not wanting to move at all. But Belong's opinion is that it would be best to move him to where he will live permanently. That way he can be established and live with the parent that he will remain with.
How old is Ben?
Ben is 10.
Okay. And what grade has Ben in?
I believe he's in 4th grade.
And does he attend the same school where he has attended, I guess, this whole school year?
Yes.
And he has friends?
Yes.
And he has a classroom?
Yes.
And he has teachers?
Yes.
And he's currently with family?
Yes.
And he's currently with his sister where he's always been?
Yes.
So what difference would it make ultimately to wait a few months to not pull this child away from everything that is familiar to him?
So per policy, the recommendation of the state is that we have to request placement with a non-offending parent and dismissal.
Okay, so but this is not your motion, is it?
No, it's not.
And that is your policy, but if the court were to order something differently, you would follow that.
Yes, of course.
And if the court would order something different because the court found it to be in Ben's best interest, you would follow that.
Of course.
If the court was inclined to pull Ben out of everything familiar to him right now and place him with his father, would belong facilitate in-person sibling contact?
If Belong were to place Ben with Mr. Smith in Ohio, the case would need to be dismissed. Ben would need to be severed out. We would
What
not be
about
able to
Madeline?
continue to
I'm
monitor.
sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I was saying we would not be able to continue to monitor Ben if placed with Mr. Smith.
What about Madeline and her relationship with her brother?
We have discussed with Mr. Smith the importance of continuing communication through phone, virtual call, and in person when possible.
Okay. But Belong would be done, finished.
Belong would not be able to monitor Ben in Ohio.
So Belong would not be able to facilitate any type of sibling contact.
I'm sure that Ms. Lewis would be able to facilitate virtual calls if Mr. Smith was willing to work with Ms. Lewis on a continual basis.
But nothing in person.
If ordered by the court, Ms. Lewis, I suppose, could travel to Ohio with Maddie, but would not be able to stay overnight with Maddie. Maddie would need to stay on a visit with Mr. Smith.
And Madeline's never been to Ohio, has she? In
No.
the recent past? In the recent past, no, she has not. And Mr. Smith is not her biological family, is he?
No.
But Ben is familiar with Texas and the people that exist in Texas currently, even where he's residing, correct?
Yes.
When does Ben get out of school?
The end of May.
And if the court were to delay placement of Ben until he got out of school at the end of May, would Belong be willing to facilitate Ben going to Ohio to visit his father, for example, the full week of spring break or Easter or any 3-day weekends between now and then?
Yes.
Would Belong pay for that?
Yes.
Thank you. I pass the witness.
Sims,
No questions, Your Honor.
follow up, Ms. Fuller.
No, Your Honor, I'd like to call Miss Lewis.
Ms. Lewis has been sworn. You may proceed.
Could you please state your full name?
Katarina Lewis.
And you're the permanency worker in this case?
I am.
And you had the opportunity to take Ben up to Ohio?
I did.
And you had the opportunity to view Mr. Smith's home?
Yes.
And did you have any concerns about any safety risk in that home?
I did not.
And you've spoken with Ben on a number of occasions in regards to that visit?
Yes.
And did he express any concerns to you about how that visit went?
He did not.
Was he happy about it? What did he tell you about his time there?
Yeah. He was happy about it. He stated he had a lot of fun, got to meet a bunch of new family members. He enjoyed getting to meet his little sister that he had never met. He stated he had a lot of fun getting to know his dad.
Okay. And you have facilitated family therapy for months, correct?
I have.
And the family therapist has even broached the topic of Ben going to Ohio.
Judge,
Yeah.
I'm objecting to hearsay unless we have that therapist here to talk about that. I just hearsay. I can't say that that's appropriate.
Dane, rephrase.
Miss Lewis, have you heard any information from Ben in regards to his concerns about the opportunity to be with his father?
He has expressed to me that he is scared to leave his little sister. He will miss her. He wants to make sure he still has contact with her. He has expressed that he is a little nervous to go up there. It's new. But and then at one point he did say he wanted to wait till he was 11. Some days it changes. It's better than others.
And have you talked to Mr. Smith about the school district up there and him making sure which school he's in, the doctors and everybody would be available up there for him?
Absolutely. Yes, we have.
And the reason that we're here again is because of Miss Hines, correct?
That is correct.
And she's not even able to visit with her children,
Judge,
correct?
objection relevance. We've already talked about this.
Your Honor, this is
I understand. I've got it, Ms. Fuller. It doesn't affect my decision on timeline, whether or not we're here because of her or him.
And in regards to Ben and his school, there was a family-based case, another case. Ben has been moved quite a bit. He's been, unfortunately, because of his mother's actions, he's been in a lot of placements, been to different schools, correct?
Judge, objection to the sidebar and also relevance.
I'll sustain the objection to sidebar, but I think exploring kind of what's going on with Ben right now as she's doing is fine. Let's just leave Ms. Hines out of it.
Has he not been in a number of schools?
Yes, yes.
Okay. And what Miss Crouch said that his sister was going to be moved as well? The plan.
It could be a possibility. His paternal grandmother of her has expressed interest.
And Ben is not related to her, correct?
That's correct. No.
How many sessions, let's strike that, Your Honor. Has Mr. Smith made all his sessions in regards to family therapy?
Yes, yes.
And has he, in addition to family therapy, has he also had contact, each week with his son, just him one-on-one talking to his son?
Yes, they do.
And in your opinion today, is Mr. Smith a non-offending parent in this case?
Yes.
And you are also requesting the court to place Ben and dismiss Ben's case, correct?
That's correct.
And do you have any concerns that Ben will not adjust?
I don't, because I've seen Ben adjust to situations that he shouldn't have to adjust to. So I know he can do it.
Okay. And do you feel that Mr. Smith will keep contact with Madeline?
Absolutely. I've seen that when he was even in Christmas break.
Okay. And so during Christmas break, he allowed Ben to talk to his sister?
He did, and his mom.
Okay. I'll pass the witness.
Ms. Thompson.
No questions, Your Honor.
Ms. Swallow.
No questions, Judge.
Ms. Sims.
Miss Lewis, do you think it's in Ben's best interest, not the policy, but in Ben's best interest to be moved now, or to allow him to finish the school year and kind of let him have some therapy sessions, getting used to this move?
Sorry, that's hard. I believe at this moment, it is in his best interest to move and go up to Ohio and move forward with everything.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Why, Ms. Lewis? Tell me why.
Right now, I believe we're kind of in a stagnant part. Ms. Hines is dealing with her criminal history. I don't know where that's going to end up. I believe that we've been here before and we were shown that there weren't any changes being made. And so I think it gives Ben an opportunity to go have a relationship with his father and see where that can go.
All right. Any other questions for Ms. Lewis?
No questions.
Any other witnesses, Ms. Fuller?
I just had one follow-up. The Belong is able to to take Ben on visitations with Mr. Smith?
Yes,
And so Ms. Swallow asked you about taking him there during spring break. That's not an issue at all, correct?
it's not.
In regards to Ms. Swallow's request for a weekend visit, would that even be, how difficult would that be? We're talking Ohio and Texas, correct?
We are. It would be difficult. I would probably have to stay the weekend because it would be a very fast turnaround.
And as you just stated, we've been here before. Ms. Hines has been here more than once. Ms. Crouch testified that she's going to be asking for a change to termination and adoption for Maddie. If Ben stays here and the judge does not place him with his father as the non-offending parent, is the plan also termination for Ben?
The goal would switch. I guess we would keep Ben's goal family reunification with his dad at that time.
Okay, but what about the mother?
That would switch.
Relevance. We're talking about a different child that we're not even talking about right now. We're talking about the timing of getting Ben to Ohio, for which my client is not disputing him going. It's just the timing of it and what would be in his best interest.
Yeah, sustained. We just need to focus on now or later.
Pass this witness.
All right. Any other witnesses, Ms. Fuller?
I like Thomas Hines.
All right.
Could you please state your full name?
Letha Hines.
Okay. And your attorney has said that that you're fine with Ben going to live with his father.
Yes.
And is that on a permanent basis at the end of the school year? Is that what your attorney meant?
Yes.
Okay. And so in your opinion today, why would Ben need to stay in Texas?
I think that he should finish out his school year with his friends and graduate his 4th grade class from Harper, which he has told my brother, who has told me that.
I object, Your Honor. She can't say what he told her brother.
Let's not get into that, Ms. Hines. Let's just focus on what you know. Go ahead, Ms. Fuller.
And Ms. Hines, how many schools has Ben been in?
3.
Okay. And he's just in 4th grade, correct?
Yes.
And when's the last time you saw Ben?
Judge, I'm objecting to relevance. That has nothing to do with the timing of when Ben should go live with his father.
It does to me, Your Honor. It has to do with the timing.
I'll give you a little leeway. Make it quick. Overruled.
In regards to contact with your children, what does that look like for you right now?
I have no contact with my children.
Okay. And you have bond conditions that you're not allowed to have contact, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And that's due to the child endangerment charge, correct?
Correct.
When did you have an opportunity to speak to Ben when he was in Ohio?
I did not speak with him directly. We sent voice messages back and forth to each other.
Okay. And did he express to you any concerns about his trip up there?
No.
Okay. I'll pass this witness.
Ms. Thompson.
No questions, Your Honor.
Ms. Swallow.
No questions, Judge.
Sims.
No questions.
No
Any other
question.
witnesses, Ms. Fuller? Sorry, Mr. Weatherby. I didn't mean to overlook you. I just didn't think you had any. Anything else, Ms. Fuller? Any other witnesses?
No, Your Honor. I just like to give a statement to the court.
Anybody else have a witness they intended to call?
No, Judge.
All right, well, let's start with closing. Ms. Fuller's the movement. She gets first and last. Go ahead, Ms. Fuller.
Again, Your Honor, based on the motion that I filed, I'm asking that Ben be placed with his father. As you know, and you've been involved with Ms. Hines for many years, unfortunately, and things have not changed. And we are going nowhere with this case in regards to Ms. Hines. And my client is a non-offending parent. I had wanted him to ask for placement at the beginning of when these children were removed from the mother. He wanted to take the time to get to meet his son and spend time with him, and that's what he has done. The child was there for Christmas, and they continue to have visitation during the week. They continue to do family therapy. He has done everything that's been asked of him to try to build, and he did that because he felt that was what was best for Ben. I mean, technically he should have had placement, in my opinion, in the very beginning. But he wanted to do what was best for Ben. And at this time, based on him being a non-offending parent and the status of the case going to termination for the other child, I am requesting that Ben be placed with him. I've instructed him he can hide. The order will be go back to the previous order, and he will need to obtain an attorney up there to get full custody. And he understands what he needs to do at that point. Based on the law, and not just the policy, but based on the law for ICPC, if a child is placed with a non-offending parent, the department has to be dismissed. And that's what I'm asking you to do today, is dismiss at this time, dismiss after placement when he's placed. I'm not sure when Belong can get him up there within the next few days, I would hope, and dismiss this case. And then they can work and do whatever they need to do to get a final order between Mr. Smith and Ms. Hines. There is no reason to Mr. Smith will, as everyone testified, he will continue contact with Madeline. He did that over Christmas. He has no issues with that. And unfortunately, Ben it's a tug of war for him, and at this time he tells one person he's good with going up there, and then he tells somebody else, no, I'm not sure, I want to wait. But Mr. Smith should have his son placed with him, Your Honor, and based on the services that he did and provided to the department or Belong, and his continued involvement over the last several months, I don't see any reason to wait. This child has been bounced around from home to home, from school to school, his entire life, and this is a home he needs to be in, Your Honor.
Thompson.
Your Honor, I completely agree with Ms. Fuller. I think it's in the best interest of Benjamin to be placed and moved with his dad, with his father, Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith has not posed any concerns regarding Benjamin's safety or well-being. I just think it's best for him to be placed with his father.
Mr. Weatherby, anything?
No, Your Honor.
Swallow.
Thank you, Judge. I agree with Ms. Fuller, a lot of what she said, but there's quite a lot I don't agree with either. Ben has not been bounced around from home to home to school. He's been with family. And while, unfortunately, Ms. Hines has been in front of this court longer than I would like to even admit, but she has, Mr. Smith has always been Ben's father. So that's not something new. We litigated this highly in the last case. Those, while this is a new case, unfortunately, those facts still remain. Ben, I believe, on behalf of my client, needs to go live with his father when the timing is right. To take Ben out of school right now when he does not want to go, when he has a serious bond with his sister, when he's been already separated from his mother, and her bond conditions do not allow her to be in contact with him, to move him now is not in his best interest. I think he needs to finish the school year. I think he needs to be allowed to graduate with from his fourth grade class. I think those connections and that experience is important to him. That's something that he has bonds with those individuals. He will feel success. He will feel autonomy. He will feel independence. And to take all of that away from him, it's just, we're talking about a matter of months for basically just to win at this point is really, really sad. Ben is with family. He's been with family. I believe that, you know, to Ms. Fuller's point, requesting that this case be dismissed once he's placed, I agree with that. I think in the meantime, we should be ordered to mediate the final orders for Ben, and then Ben be allowed to go visit spring break and every other, you know, 2 or 3 day weekend, whatever can be accomplished between now and May, which is going to come very quickly, that we can create the final orders that are needed. And I don't think it's going to be too complicated, and it's not going to leave this family in an incomplete state, which is absolutely not in Ben's best interest. And we're not doing anything contrary to law. We're not doing anything contrary to policy. We're respecting the best interest of this child and what allowing him to finish the school year and complete therapy and do all the things that the ad litem and CASA are asking for as well. I don't think we need an ICPC home study. I think that we need to be ordered to mediation, create the final orders, create a plan to have Ben moved with his father right at the beginning of the summer.
Thank you, Ms. Swallow. Ms. Sims?
Your Honor, I agree with Ms. Swallow. I went and visited with Ben last week at school. You know, we talked about a lot of things. We've talked about how his visit during Christmas went with his dad and how much fun he had, and, you know, how his new little sister loved him. And so I'm not concerned with his father and with him up there. What I am concerned about is when I brought up the issue of even visiting with dad, or not even living, but visiting, he got visibly anxious. He was tapping his foot. He was messing with a little toy in his hand. He was fidgeting. And when I asked him, do you want to go visit with your dad? Do you want to go back to Ohio? He told me no, and his answer to why was it's cold, which is obviously not his. He feels anxious. He feels very anxious about it. And so I changed topics. We talked about video games, and when I ask again about have you ever thought about living with your dad, he says no. I said, has anybody ever talked to you about living with your dad? And he says no, and he's getting anxious and fidgeting again. He has been at this school since the beginning of the year. He wants to finish fourth grade. I think sending him to Ohio now, not only is it a huge move, different state, like Ms. Wallace said, leaving everything he knows, we're going to stick him in a new school 2 months before the end of the school year and add all that stress onto him. I don't see what waiting 2 months, letting him process all of this, all these emotions, all these worries in therapy, and then at the beginning of summer, readdressing this, or moving him at the beginning of summer when he has a little more time and he's gotten to finish this school year.
Thank you, Ms. Sims. I noticed you came in, Mr. Witcher.
Yeah, Your Honor, I apologize. I had it calendared for a little bit later, so I really apologize for not making that. I would say from a CASA perspective, though.
Let me swear you first.
Yes, sir.
Would you state your name for me, please?
I'm sorry, Mark Witcher, CASA volunteer.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. All right, go ahead, Mr. Witcher.
Thank you. Once again, apologize to the court, Your Honor. I agree. CASA agrees, with the long-term notion certainly that everybody else is that it feels like Ben needs to end up with his dad at this point. The question is again timing. I also have visited with Ben multiple times, and he's candidly given me a different answer every time. And the most recent conversation was the one where he said, he's not even sure he wants to go this summer. But again, It doesn't feel like that, is legit. The one, it does feel like he, should go. The question is to me, beyond just the Ben, and Miss Sims laid out all the issues about why it makes sense to, hold him here a little bit longer. He is. I've been to that apartment several times, and he's happy and well taken care of there. And so there's no adverse issue in that sense with keeping him here for at least a couple more months. The other question I have, and again, I'm not a family lawyer, Your Honor, so I don't know if this is even something that could be considered, but Maddie and Ben are kind of a match set. There needs to be some real thought into how they are separated like this, and just kind of a fell swoop where you come in and say, okay, Ben's gone in a few days. Seems to me to be a difficult pill to swallow for her, certainly. And so just for that as another add-on reason, CASA would urge that we give the placement, but we don't do it until school's out.
Thank you, Ms. Witcher. Ms. Fuller, any rebuttal?
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Swallow said that he hadn't been moved around. The mother's testimony was that he had been in 3 different schools. He's only been in elementary school, so he has been moved around. He's been in 3 separate schools for his elementary school education. She said he was with family. He was placed in the other case with Miss Hadley. She is not his family. She is Maddie's paternal grandmother. Right now, he's placed with an uncle, a maternal uncle that's actually related to him, but he was not placed with family. He was placed with a paternal grandmother of Maddie. The concept of non-offending parent is pretty clear, that a child should be placed with a non-offending parent if there's no risk. Even the ad litem said that she wasn't concerned with the father and then him going up there, and how anxious he got to extend this 2-3 more months. His anxiety will probably even get worse if people are constantly asking him, do you want to go up there? Do you want to live there? Do you want to do this? And from what Mr. Witcher said, he changes his answer almost every single time. Mr. Smith has put in the work through this case, and has spent the time to try to get to know his son. Again, like I said, I advised him to request placement in the very beginning as a non-offending parent, but he wanted to build that relationship. I don't see Mr. Smith not keeping contact with Madeline. I think he will ensure that he has contact with Madeline. He has a sister in Ohio. He has another sibling. I'm not sure if he has even contact with that sibling. Unfortunately, this is a case where there are at least 3 different fathers, and so there are other siblings that Ben has. And I know that education is important, but he has been moved around, and it's time for him to be in a stable home. Everyone has stated on the record that they feel this is where he's going to end up, that we're going to probably be able to come to an agreement about the custody. Well, we need to do it now. We're just building the anxiety. It has been talked about in therapy. Ms. Lewis even said that. So it's not like it hasn't. He has talked to people about it. I mean, he's talked to the ad litem CASA and his therapist. So he knows that this is what we're looking at. And unfortunately, yes, it's hard to separate siblings, but he needs to be placed with his father so he can begin, a safe and stable life.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Fuller. The thing about these decisions and these types of issues is, and you all know this, I'm not telling you anything you don't know, those of you who practice in child welfare, is that we're looking at the best interest of the child. And so that supersedes opinions, that supersedes procedure, it supersedes everything. It's what is best for the child. And I believe that, eventually this case is not going to be in front of this court anymore. And I'm not going to have any control over what happens to Ben or Maddie anymore. And right now I do. And what I'm hearing from folks who have a long-standing rapport with him is that he's nervous. For whatever reason, right or wrong, this child is nervous about this whole situation. And he did not choose to be in this situation. He did not create this situation. But this situation is making him nervous. That is one of the most unfair things that can happen to children. And that's why this court exists, is so that when kids are nervous, somebody is looking at their entire situation and what's in their best interest, forgetting everything else and saying, how do I calm this child down? And how do I make this child feel safe and stable and secure? If he's nervous right now about moving to Ohio, then regardless of procedure or what anybody else wants, that's probably not what's in his best interest at this particular time. So I'm going to order that he be moved after school is out. He needs to stay with his class. He needs to stay with the people that he's used to, but we've got to get him ready for this move. He's going to go stay with his dad for spring break. That's ordered. He's going to go up there, get to know his dad a little bit more. And then while we're waiting for school to end, he's going to be in weekly therapy to process what it's going to be like to move up to Ohio at the end of the school year. Mr. Smith is going to participate in 1/2 of every therapy session. So he's going to talk to his therapist, and then Mr. Smith, you're going to come in on the phone or by Zoom, whatever it is. I prefer him be able to see your face. And you're going to talk to him and the therapist at the same time. And y'all are going to talk about whatever the therapist deems appropriate to make this move happen. And if we get to a point after a month or two where the therapist thinks that it doesn't need to be every week, then the therapist can make that decision. But I want it to be weekly, starting hopefully this week, and then go into spring break. So there's one more therapy session. There's one more meeting and talk between Ben and his father before he flies up to Ohio. I also want Ben to be able to process the fact, as Mr. Witcher and others pointed out, he's 10 and Maddie's 6. They have a bond. That bond is going to be greatly affected by this cross-country move. And so that needs to be something that they get to process until the end of the school year. I think it's grossly unfair to both of them to not give them that time and that warning. So there's the therapy weekly with Mr. Smith involved in 1/2 of each session. There's the spring break visit. And I'm going to order mediation to occur. I think there's no reason why it can't occur prior to our next hearing, which is March the 27th. That's a few weeks from now. If you guys can get mediation scheduled, we'll talk about what this move is going to look like. But in the meantime, we're going to do the therapy. We're going to do the spring break visit. And we're not going to do a move until the end of the school year. We all know it's going to happen, but we've waited this long. The child's nervous. We're going to wait a little bit longer. We're going to give him that. He deserves that, if anything. Does not deserve to be in this situation, but he at least deserves that. And so does Maddie.
I would ask that you also order additional visits, and that belong be able to take him up there and have additional visits then. If you're not going to place him as he should be placed with his parent, then he needs to have more contact in person, because
it's not that he shouldn't, it's not that he's getting, let me rephrase. It's not that he's not getting placed as he should be. I don't believe it's in his best interest to get placed before the school year ends. And that's what's controlling here. There's Mr. Smith, you keep using the word non-offending parent, but the thing is, he's his parent. And all this stuff has been going on in Texas. And I said this during the last case, all this stuff has been going on during Texas, but for whatever reason, he wasn't there. So this term non-offending parent is, I don't cotton to it much. I don't think it's the most appropriate term in every situation. Do I think Mr. Smith is going to make a great dad? Yes, I do. Do I think that we need to wait until the end of the school year to start that full time? Yes, I do. So I don't think I'm taking anything from Mr. Smith. I don't think I'm taking anything from Mr. Smith. I don't think I'm taking anything from Mr. Smith. I don't think I'm taking anything from Mr. Smith. I don't think I'm taking anything from Mr. Smith. I don't think I'm taking anything from Mr. Smith. So I don't think I'm taking anything from Mr. Smith. I think I'm making Mr. Smith earn what the child deserves by giving it 2 more months. So I'm not ordering any extra visits. We'll have a spring break visit, and then they'll have the visits that occur electronically, and then the child will be moved there. That's the order. Ms. Fuller, it's your motion. You'll prepare the order, circulate it. Well, actually, you don't need to circulate it. Just send it to Ms. Greenlee and I'll sign it.
Judge,
Yes.
did you order us to mediate this case prior to March 27th?
If you can. If you can't, then do it afterwards.
Okay, thank you.
It would be nice to know on March 27th how spring break went and what we're looking at as far as long-term. But if you can't get it done by then, that's fine. It would just need to be done before we finalize this case. Okay. Thank you all for your time and your service.
Now, I can understand Dad wanting to get his son as soon as possible so they can start working on their life together. I completely understand that. But truly, it's only 2.5 months, maybe? Somewhere between 60 and maybe 75 days. So I don't understand why they wouldn't just allow this, why these people are pushing back on allowing him to finish out the school year. Maybe CASA or Belong, I don't remember which one it was, wants to wipe their hands of this and, file the case and never think about it again. Put it away and it's done. It's off my desk. But, you still got to care about this young man. And he wants to wait. And I think the judge made the perfect decision. They're going to wait until he's done with school. And then Dad and the son will go through some counseling in this interim time so that they can get even closer together. So that when he does show up on his doorstep, that it's a great thing. It's like, yay, here we go. We're going to have fun for the next 10 years. It's going to be awesome. I think that's great. I think that's the way it should be. So I think the judge made the perfect call. I wish I had heard more about Mom and her issues. We didn't get to hear really a whole lot, but she's lost all of her kids. I gathered from this hearing, she doesn't have any of them. So, and they're all with different dads. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.